This short video is about the process of doing Lab 1. Now I'm going to start at the very beginning, and there'll be 4 parts to this, as there are 4 parts that you turn in Lab 1. So I'm using the desktop web page for the class, and I'm going to the week, our first week of classes. The first week was a bye, and I'm going to the instructions, and this is where the videos will be. And here I'm opening the instructions for the Lab 1. And I talk about the instructions for Lab 1, where the data can be found either on the Citrix or on the lab computer, and we'll go through that process of creating the first exercise. Now for this particular exercise, I'm going to go through starting the CFANS desktop and the Citrix online to get to this ArcGIS. So there's a few extra little pieces here if you're working at home or working in the lab. Now in order to use the Citrix, you'll want to go to Apps to Go, and Apps to Go is on our process here on our web page, and under Apps to Go, and we're clicking on Apps to Go, and we log in with your ID, and we do our Duo. And once the Duo is ready, it comes up with the CFANS desktops. We select the desktop, we select the desktop G, we open it. It takes a little bit to do, and I waited a minute or two. Sometimes when you're starting the CFANS desktop, it takes a little bit to start up. This is what you will observe. Could take a little bit as it's spinning up. I'm trying to get the sysop to set it up a little faster, so at the busy times he actually preloads some of these things, so it's a little faster. I'm skipping a few of the wait times. Okay, now I skipped some of the wait time using the CFANS desktop, and I'm going to maximize this so that you could see the whole screen. You know, this is the way the CFANS desktop works, and I'm going to start ArcGIS. Now, if you're in the computer lab or at home, you'll go directly to this ArcGIS starting process. I was just showing you again that process for the CFANS desktop and the Citrix starting. Okay, so we're going to ArcGIS, and we're going to Pro. I'm going to make sure I get rid of my Google Drive. I don't need that. So I should be starting ArcGIS here. ArcGIS Pro comes up with their little initializing screen. All this sort of setup process sometimes takes a little bit, so I'm skipping a few of the wait times. Okay, now when this comes up, when you get this, don't be confused about this sort of process and type in some username. That you'll want to select the University ID option and then log in with your X500 and your Duo. Okay, so I'm doing that. So you can do that yourself. I'll skip this. So I put my password in and signed in, and the Duo goes through the process, and I logged in with Duo. So I hope that's clear how ArcGIS you sign up. Okay, now this is the very first part of the instructions that you'll want to take a look at, and I've got the instructions. Let's see, they're behind here. I have the instructions that, let's see, I can bring the instructions over. Here we're starting ArcGIS Pro from the instructions, and I have those use the university. Either you type in UMN if it asks for your organization URL, or you just select the university login. And here I am starting ArcGIS Pro. Okay, so now the most important thing for using ArcGIS Pro is to have the data on your desktop for the work. Now, if you haven't done that, you'll want to make sure you do that. Now, ideally, you do this before you start ArcGIS Pro. You'll take it from the cloud, okay, the information, and we take Lab 1, and we copy it, and we paste it onto the desktop. Didn't I do copy? Copy, and I'm pasting it onto the desktop. Oops. Why is that not working? I gotta go to the desktop, and I'm pasting. Okay, so it copies it to the desktop. Okay, so the ArcGIS, the lab, if we can see, you can see it here. The lab is now on the desktop. All right, so now we're going to start ArcGIS Pro, and this is where we have in the instructions we talk about that very same process where we're using the data from the desktop. Here we have the instructions here talking about that. Okay, so I'm going to use the desktop data. So I'm going to go to the map, okay, create a new map. Now I'm going, for my first lab, I'm going to type in lab 1, okay, some name like that. And now this is very, very important. You want to make sure you don't take the default opening location, which is on Documents, ArcGIS Projects. You want to make sure that you use the desktop, your desktop copy of that information. So I'm going to be using that Lab 1 from my desktop. So I'm going to my desktop and I'm selecting Lab 1. So now I'm creating a project called Lab 1, and I'm making sure that it's stored in the Lab 1 folder, and I'm creating a working folder within that project. Okay, so I hope that's clear to you, and this is very, very important that you always work on the desktop of the computer you're working on, whether it's the lab or your home or this Citrix workstation. Okay, so now I've got ArcGIS coming up. It's doing its default setup process here, and it has some basic background maps. You'll notice that there's some menu items up here, and as you select these different menu items, the ribbon, that's what this is called, the ribbon changes. Okay, so that when you select these various different things, the ribbon changes. All right, so I'm going to start on the map, and I don't need the background information. I'm going to be using the layers that are assigned in the lab. So I'm going to select this background, right-click on it. I'm going to remove it. I'm just going to remove these background. You don't have to, but it's just less clutter. Okay, now I'm on the map menu, and I'm looking at the ribbon, and I've got a little yellow and black plus here, and I'm going to click on that plus, and I'm going to navigate to my lab. And you can see I've got Lab 1 is in this PC, in the desktops, in Lab 1. You can see, and these are the layers I give you for you to work for Lab 1. And then there's a working Lab 1 folder inside the Lab 1 master folder. Okay, so now the instructions say, if you read the instructions, we're going to add the lakes and the roads, and I can hold the shift key down and add them together, or I can do them one at a time, and I say okay, and that adds the two layers onto my map, and I'll maximize this a little bit so you can see more of it. Now you'll notice that on the left here there's a table of contents, okay, showing these layers, and you could turn these layers on and off by turning the little check box, okay? And you could also change the colors of them, and there's two different ways of changing the colors of them, one of which is to just double click on the color tab, and it brings up the color information for this called symbology, okay? And that the other way is to select the layer, okay, not the color, but the layer, and with the left click and right click and go down to symbology. Okay, now that brings up over on the side the little symbology instructions, and you could select the various different shapes. You could click on it to select the different colors, and you could go into properties and actually select colors individually, or you could select the gallery. I'm going to select water from the gallery, and it now colors them as lakes, looking like lakes. I'm going to pin this symbology back to the side ribbon here. There's a side ribbon that keeps this over, and I keep it pinned, and I keep a number of shortcuts over here of the particular action items that I've been using. Okay, so, and I'm going to change the roads. I'm going to do that by the clicking on the symbol for the roads, and you could see I bring up various roads, and I could bring up, say this is a minor road. I'm going to do that. I'll pin the symbology back to the side. So now I've got the roads and the lakes on my map, and that's what this is called. That's a map. All right. Now I want to create this map on a piece of paper, or the virtual piece of paper, into a PDF to actually turn it in. Okay. And when you're creating the map to turn it in on a virtual piece of paper, that's when you put the title and the north arrow and the legend and the scale bar and all the map elements on that. Okay. Now, in order to do that, you need to go to the Insert menu at the top. I'm going to insert at the top, and you'll notice the ribbon changed, and I'm going to insert a new layout. And a layout is something that I can get a letter or a landscape. I'm going to pick the letter format, and it now creates a blank piece of paper that I can then put my map on. Now, how do I put my map on this particular piece of paper? The map is over here, okay? The layout, the piece of paper is here. So now I'm going to go to the layout. I could look at the layout tab. I could look at the insert tab, okay, or the various different menus up here to bring up the ribbons. On the insert ribbon, I'm going to click on the map frame in the little drop down, and you could see here's the picture of my working map, and I want the working map to come up in not my default location, but a layer, a size that I can control, and now I drop that on it. So once again, there's a map, and then there's a piece of paper layout. I go to map frame and I select that map. If I did the default, it would just fill the piece of paper. Here I want to control where it is on the layout. So now I've got this on the this is on the layout, and I'm ready to go. So now I go to the next step, is to the map surrounds, okay, ribbon, which is on the insert menu, and I'm going to map surround, and I'm going to pick the north arrow, and I could choose which north arrow I like. Okay, so I'm going to pick sort of a simple north arrow, and I'm going to drop where that's going to go. I go up to the map surrounds again, and I pick the scale bar, and I'm going to pick the scale bar that I like. I could do something like this. I'm going to drag the box for where the scale bar is going to be. Then I go to map surrounds. I can do the legend, and I could put a legend on here. Okay, and you can see there's a legend for this. And then I'm going to go to graphics and text, and you got a number of different choices for putting text on. I'm just going to put a text box here, and I'm going to put in the title of map, you know, whatever you want to call it. And you'll notice that each of these map elements, if I left click on them, each of these map elements can be repositioned. So I can drag them around and put them next to each other, or change the spacing of things. I can move the map by selecting the map subject, so I can move it. I could move this thing outside my map frame. Okay, I could select this map frame, and this map frame has some properties. See, the map frame is selected. If it's selected, I could go over here or on the layout, and I could right click, and I could go and actually make changes to the properties of this map frame. Okay, so I right click on that, and I could select the properties. See, it says properties at the bottom. I could get that over here by selecting map frame and going down to properties, right at the bottom there. See, it says properties. Now this map frame, some people want to get rid of this box around it, and that's just fine. You could go to the border, the little painting thing, and you could change that border to no color if you wish. And then when I click back onto it, the border goes away. But you get the idea. You're setting this basic map up. So you have your subject here, you have your piece of paper. Now we're going to go for the output. So we would change our ribbon up here. So we go to our layout, okay, and we go to our insert, we go to our analysis, or our view, or our image. But share is what you want for this. So it's really layout and insert and share you're using. But there's other menus up here that you could be using for other purposes. But here we're going to do share, and we're going to export this layout, okay, because we want to export it as a PDF, and georeference is fine. Any one of any one of these really are fine. We don't want the AIX, but the georeferenced PDF is fine. Any of the PDFs that we'll talk about later what that means. And this georeference PDF, here's the georeference PDF dialog. The important thing is directing where you want it to go and how you want it to name. And you can see it's defaulting to my location because I started in location. So I'm going to really change this first one to call it map 1. All right, so then I'm going to, so I've got that entered, okay, and then I'm going to go to export. And now I've sent that map 1 out as a PDF, and I can pin this back to the ribbon. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the second part. This will be in another module that I'll make as a separate video. So I'm stopping this video.